You're listening to the Balanced Educator Podcast, episode number 90. Welcome to the Balanced Educator. We're your hosts, Kaylee
and Josiane from EduCalm. Our intention is to equip and empower you to feel more calm, balanced, and joyful in all aspects of your life. Hello there, and welcome to the Balanced Educator Podcast. We're so happy you're here. Now, today we will be talking about mastering the to-do list to kind of get out of the overwhelmed feeling and into a feeling of accomplishment. But before we dive in, we would love to share with you today's sponsor, Little Love Home. So Little Love Home creates sustainable, minimalist goods for you and your home. Everything they make is handmade with love by a mom here in Manitoba, Canada.
I personally have a set of coasters from Little Love Home and this little tray that I put my rings and crystals in. It's so cute. But the next thing I'd really love to get that I've had my eye on for a long time that you guys will have to check out is they make this really beautiful tray with out of rope. So it's this beautiful rope that's sewn together. And then it has these handles in kind of this faux leather look. Super cute for putting candles on or anything like that on your coffee table. You guys have to check it out. Go to littlelovehome.com and use the coupon code EduCalm10 to get 10% off your first order. Again, that's littlelovehome.com and then use the coupon code EduCalm. That's EduCalme 10 for 10% off your first order.
Okay, let's dive into the show. Okay. So, the to-do list. Oh, the to-do list.
The dreaded to-do list.
We all know what's going through your head right now, right?
Yeah. You and I have both struggled so much with the to-do list. We both have this crazy guilt and anxiety that comes up when we haven't crossed everything off of our to-do list. And whenever we go through phases of feeling overwhelmed, it's always because we've stopped following our own advice on how to manage our to-do list properly.
Yes, which we are about to do.
Yes. So let's talk about these strategies that we use when everything's going well with our to-do list and these strategies that everyone can use, especially around this busy time of year where there's so much going on.
Yes. Oh, that Christmas to-do list.
Yeah.
Yeah. The first thing is that we need to look at our to-do list differently, I think.
Yes.
Right? Instead of this long drawn out thing that, oh, I have to do this and then I have to do this and it's never going to end because the list just keeps getting longer. We first need to shift our own perspective of our to-do list.
Yes. And I know that for myself, I always fall into this trap of feeling like the to-do list is like a list that someone else has given me to follow that I have to finish, otherwise they're going to get mad at me. And then we shift our perspective and go, wait a minute, I'm the one that created this to-do list. I'm the one that chose to put these items on here. And I'm the one that chose how many items to put on my to-do list. That makes me feel like I have to accomplish them all.
And in reality, what do we really have to do on our to-do list?
That is the best way to look at it, is to look at those items on the to-do list really from like an outsider's eye and go, is this actually necessary? Or like I sometimes fall into the trap of putting everything in the kitchen sink on my to-do list. So, I have the things that actually need to get done. And then I have like, oh, if I have an extra 5 minutes in my day, I have this thing I've been meaning to research for 10 years,
Yes.
Like, does that actually need to go on the to-do list? Or can I put that somewhere else on my calendar as a reminder to think about it at another time? Or does it actually have to get done now?
I think it's important to remember that we have the power to choose what gets done. It's up to us. It's a choice that we have, and we are in control of that.
Yes.
The to-do list doesn't own us. We own it, right?
Exactly.
So we have the choice.
So I think it's important to be clear of what our to-do list means. is our to-do list just a long list of things we'd like to eventually get to?
In 10 years.
In 10 years. Or are we holding our to-do list with the intention of finishing it by the end of the day? Those are two very different lists. So, what you can actually do is have two lists. Have one list that these are the things that must get done, that have to get done. And then another list that's if I finish this list early, I have time to get to this.
And that's actually something I do in my planner. I still use a paper planner, and on the weekdays, I will write what is actually important, what is priority. But then there's a little section that's just notes. And then I'll write the couple things that these are extra little things that if I finish everything else, I can get to this, but it's doesn't have to get done.
Yeah, exactly. Another thing, I kind of briefly mentioned the calendar idea, but that's one thing that I've been doing recently too and we've been doing together as well, more and more. Yeah, is when we come up with an idea of something that we'd like to do, rather than just putting it on our to-do list, we get inspiration of I really would like to look into this, or we'd like to create something like that. Instead of putting it on our to-do list for this week, we look at our calendar and say, okay, when would be a good time to dive into this? When do I think I'll have time for this? And then we put it on our calendar for later. Either it's on our calendar where we'll write in talk about when we can do this project, and we'll actually put that on the calendar for a week from now. And then sometimes it's actually putting it on the calendar, start working on this project, and then that it isn't for a month or 2 or 3 months later. And I think that's helped us to be more realistic with what goes on our to-do list. And it makes the intention of our daily to-do list, this is what has to get done.
Yeah. And I know as a teacher, one of my favorite things is always creating new projects and planning and that type of thing. And also professional development things have always been some of my favorite things, but sometimes we don't have time for that. And that's something we can do as a teacher, is just put it in our scheduler for a month from now. Look at the ebb and flow of teaching. You have times where you're super busy. I mean, of course, it's always a little chaotic when you teach, but you definitely have moments in the year where it's way crazier, and other moments where you have more time for that. So plan it for then, or schedule it for then.
Exactly. For example, we can even boil this down further. And because we talk to so many teachers, and we're always asking teachers, when is a good time for professional development, so that we know when is the best time to support you guys when you're going to be ready. And people always tell us springtime, right after spring break, is the best time to learn new things, because you don't feel overwhelmed by so many things on your plate. Whereas September to Christmas, most teachers are in a state of overwhelm or almost overwhelmed. There's so much going on at the beginning of the year. So knowing the ebb and flow of the school year helps you to plan accordingly.
Love it. Now, sometimes, even though we're really intentional with our to-do list and we recognize, okay, I have the power to choose what I actually do on this list, sometimes it still gets a little longer than we would like. So one strategy that we use that is super, super, super helpful is to highlight or circle 1 to 3 things that are must-dos first. And then if there's time after, then you do the other things. But I feel like this does 2 things. One, it gives you a bigger sense of accomplishment because you actually get through your list. What? You actually get through your list. And 2, you're more productive because you're not wasting your time wondering what you should tackle first. It's already there. You know exactly what you're supposed to be doing, so you can be a lot more focused and therefore get more things done off your to-do list.
Exactly. So we both really like to create or decide on those 3 things the day before. So at the end of the day, it's part of our kind of wrap up at the end of the day to make our list for the next day by choosing the top 1 to 3 things that have to get done.
In the classroom and also in our business.
Yeah, exactly. Now, when we're choosing those 1 to 3 things, you have to kind of decide what your criteria is for has to get done. Like, what does that mean, has to get done? Sometimes it's really important, and we help each other do this a lot, to step back and look with a new perspective of what we think needs to get done and what in reality has to get done.
Which is usually not much.
Yeah. Usually because we like to put lots of things on our to-do list because we're excited to do it, and then we feel bogged
teachers.
down. Yeah.
Teachers are just go-getters.
Exactly. So, when you're looking at your list and say you're like, I can't boil this down to 1 to 3 things, you can ask yourself questions like, okay, is this thing more important than
eating lunch?
Like, is it worth not taking a break for lunch to complete this thing? And hopefully the answer is no. Most of the time the answer is no. Or is this thing more important than getting home to my family on time? Usually that's a pretty quick way of deciphering if it's really important or if it isn't. Is this thing worth stressing me out, or is it something that I can accomplish later? So asking yourself those kind of questions that help you to gauge if it's just your mind, ego thinking, it has that voice in your head saying you got to do it all, if it's that little voice or if it's the reality. And if you aren't sure, sometimes it can help to get perspective from someone else. That's something that you and I do a lot when we feel like our to-do list is getting long and overwhelming and we can't get through it all. We talk about what's on the list and we help each other say, no, that's not important. We can do that another time. No, cross that off. We can do that another time.
And on that note, sometimes done is better than perfect.
Yes.
We tend to be such perfectionists, both you and I, but also teachers in general. Mm-hmm. And sometimes just get her done. And if it's not perfect, your students won't notice if your page formatting isn't perfect.
Exactly. And you can fix it later, get it out done now, and then put it in your calendar at a later date to update it and fix it and improve it later. And oftentimes a really good time for improving is after you've tried it once.
That's so true.
You do the lesson once and it usually doesn't go quite how you thought, or the students ask questions and you're like, oh, I wouldn't have thought of that. And it gives you ideas for how to improve the lesson. So, do it done first, test it out, and then pencil in time to improve on it later.
And that's something I really like to do, is just not format it, just make it a straight up paper if it is like a resource for my classroom. And then the next year, so I wait a whole year, and then when I do it again, then I format it, I make it pretty, I add photos or images or whatever, but not to bother the first time around.
Yeah. When I was in the high school classroom, I would create, my resources that I would use again the next year. So I just made it part of my practice to, I made it. Then I would always find no matter how many hours I spent on it, I'd find a typo or a formatting thing or decide I want to word it differently. And I would just quickly make that update right away so that it was ready for the next year. But, it was part of my practice to, at the end of the lesson, realize like, oh, is there something I want to change here? Or I would write it down on my paper copy so that I could go back through it at the end of the unit. So for a science unit, then I would kind of go through my notes from that year and see if there was anything I wanted to update for the next year so that it was all ready to go for the next year or the next semester.
Love it.
Yeah.
Great system. We're talking about also getting things done, but we also have to remember that to get things done, we shouldn't multitask. That's a big one.
Multitasking is the killer of productivity. We like
actually
to think,
research shows that it is. We are not made to multitask as humans.
Exactly. So if you can consider for a second, just imagine your brain, that in your brain you have these connections. So one part of your brain is talking to another part of your brain, and it's almost like they're playing telephone, when you have the cans and the string between it. So one part of your brain has the string that's going to the other part of your brain, and they're sending a communication between those two strings. Now, as soon as you flip to a new task, well, now your brain has to use a different set of
phone cord
string
Whatever you call that.
Yeah. So it can't talk through both at the same time. So when you're going between tasks, what your brain has to do is start using different neural connections.
And that takes time.
That takes time.
Effort.
Yeah. So, and more energy. So every time you have to switch, it's using more energy from your brain. So it's very inefficient to switch between tasks. Now, there are things that are very distracting. Like phones,
cell phones,
and emails.
Emails, yes.
Emails is always my killer. So I have to turn my notifications off. Otherwise, it distracts me. And then I get on that tangent. And then I never get the things that were on my to-do list done. So when you're in the mode of like, okay, I'm working on these things on my to-do list. This is what I've chosen to be the most important. You have to put your phone away, turn off your email notifications, get that thing done. And then you can go check your emails or check your phone or whatever it is that you need to do. But I know there's been lots of times that I haven't finished my top 3 on my list because I got sidetracked by an email that took me down another tangent and threw off my week. So something to consider.
Yeah, actually, like put your phone away. You'll realize how much quicker you get things done. Mm-hmm. For me, it's huge.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I've started putting my phone away, like in a different room often now when I'm working, because I'm like, I know how much time I waste if it's too easy to pick it up anytime.
Yeah. One thing I've been doing recently pretty often is deleting social media apps off of my phone because sometimes you just get into a habit of like, oh, I have a minute, or, oh, my brain is tired. I just want to scroll for a minute to like relax. But that doesn't actually relax you. It just gets your brain thinking of a different thing.
It's a distraction.
Yeah. So, I'll delete the app off my phone for a few days until I recognize that I'm out of the habit of reaching for my phone. Whenever there's a spare minute or a lull, or I feel like I want a distraction for a bit, and that helps me to stay focused. I get so much more done on those days that I don't have social media on my phone. That. And then I kind of get addicted to the productivity. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm getting so much done. I never want to have social media again. But eventually I come back because I'm like, what's everyone up to?
Oh, fun.
All right, so we talked a little bit about the brain. Let's talk more about the brain. So,
Kaylee's favorite thing.
So if you consider that for everything that you do, our brain creates circuitry around that thing. So we create a way of looking at that thing, a way of perceiving that thing. So when we are never finishing our to-do list and we feel always overwhelmed by our to-do list, now we've created the belief that getting things done is stressful. So as soon as we look at our to-do list, our brain goes, this is a stress thing, and our body goes into a stress response. Yeah. So one thing that we've found super helpful is to try to rewire our brain to look at our to-do list differently. So instead of ending the day feeling like we didn't accomplish enough, which is so easy to fall into that trap with a to-do list.
And we are guilty of falling into it here and there.
Oh yeah.
For sure.
We are currently have to do a reset on this.
Yes.
And by getting into the habit of being grateful at the end of the day.
Yes.
So at the end of the day, we write our top 1 to 3 for the next day. But then we also get into the habit of writing at least 3 things that we're grateful for that day. And that really is like the bookend to our workday.
And it can be like literally 3 things from your to-do list that you're grateful you got done.
Yeah. Like you're like, oh man, I've been so excited to finish this project and I got it done. Yes. Or this thing's been driving me crazy and I finally got it done. Yes.
Yeah. So just written point form.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be long, but what it does is it trains your brain to feel good feelings, to feel grateful at the end of your day, and to feel grateful at looking at your to-do list at the end of the day. So over time, as you keep practicing this, always being grateful, doing those 3 gratitude bullet points or sentences, whatever you want to do, then you totally start naturally shifting your emotion around your to-do list and your end of day, because with that crazy to-do list, it's so easy to leave at the end of the day feeling down on yourself for not having accomplished enough, especially if you keep adding everything to that day's to-do list instead of putting it off later on the calendar. So yeah, this is a practice that we have just said we're getting back into this on Monday, and we're holding each other accountable for this.
And we hope you'll join us too.
Yes.
And that's actually your exit ticket for the week.
Yes. Hey, how about you guys take a picture of your gratitude list at the end of your to-do list and share it with us on Instagram. That'll make me so happy to see you guys doing this gratitude list with us, because we've fallen out of that habit and we need to get back into
We need some accountability buddies. That's a tongue twister. Yeah. And you can find us on Instagram at educalm. That's EDUCALME.
Awesome. Hey, if you enjoyed this episode, share it with someone that you think will enjoy it too. We love this EduCalm community. Everyone is so kind and uplifting and supportive, and we love welcoming new teachers and new people into this community to join in on the joy, balance, and calm that we like to share.
Have an awesome week.
Bye.